Hello and welcome to another episode of the CG Garage. This is episode number 355, featuring Pedro Conti, director and founder of Flooul Animation. He's also producer and 3D artist and all-around amazing person. This is his return. It's been exactly 100 episodes since he was first here. He was on episode 255. Now it's 355. And we're excited to have him back because he has done a really, really, really wonderful new short called Tamo Junto, and I know I'm probably butchering my Portuguese here, but which is a Brazilian slang word or slang expression that means like we're all in the same boat or we're all in this together. And he basically produced a short about COVID and about what life in Brazil is like with COVID, but it's in a really, really great heart and a really, really wonderful story, and I absolutely loved it, and I couldn't wait to talk to him about it and to see what he's what he's able to tell us about it. And it was just really great catching up with Pedro because he is such a kind and sweet person. I really, really loved it. Kristen, what did you think of first of all the short, and what did you think of the interview with Pedro?
It was great. I cried on the short. I'm sensitive soul. It was super sweet. I cried throughout the whole thing. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it was, I don't know. It's like, it's so heartwarming, and he does such a good job at capturing all the emotions. And then the podcast, one about that, and just kind of, we hear about his life in Brazil during the pandemic. You know, he did the big move with his family to the big city to move a little more relaxed.
Move out of the big city. Yeah.
Move out. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, it just discusses kind of how the pandemic has also changed the industry. And you also touch about the Katy Perry music video and kind of how that came to be. That was such a great one as well. But yeah, it's a great, Pedro's so nice. So it's just fun hearing him. Yeah,
absolutely. I loved hearing about it. And if it wasn't for talking to Pedro, I wouldn't have realized, for example, that the main character in the short is actually modeled after a friend of ours, Delcio, who we know from THU. And I was like, oh my God, it is Delcio. So it's really kind of cool to have that in there. So Delcio, if you're listening to this, I don't know if you realize that you're featured in animation form in this shorts, which is really, really cool. But I really loved catching up with Pedro and doing this. And I think this is we're nearing the end of the year, and I think we need some good heartwarming feelings to have out there, and knowing that even though these are hard times for a lot of people, and things were especially tough in the big cities in Brazil, especially in Sao Paulo. So it's nice that Pedro put this out there, so let people know that hey, we're gonna get through this together, and that's a really great attitude to have in this time. And I think Pedro is a wonderful person to tell that story. So thank you so much, Pedro, for this, and thank you for being part of the podcast again. And I can't wait to have you back when you do another great little short for us. Not so little, but it's great. Anyway, Kristen, we don't really have any big announcements. Obviously, we're towards the end of the year, so I think we just want to wish people, happy holidays and a happy new year. We will. I think this is going to be the last episode we do this year, right? Because we're going to take next week off, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this will be our last episode for 2021, and we will look forward to seeing you guys or hearing from you guys in 2022. But Kristen, if people want to know more about the podcast, where can they go?
You can go to facebook.com/cggaragepodcast or chaos.com/cggarage, or if you'd like to watch us, go to youtube.com/chaosgrouptv.
Perfect. And we'd love to hear from you guys. If you have other ideas of things you want to hear, any goals or things you want to hear in 2022, let us know. Just email us, labs@chaosgroup.com. We would love to hear from you there. Again, that's labs@chaosgroup.com. And don't forget to leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. It always helps promote our podcast and get people to notice us more, which you can also just do directly and just let people know about us. All right. With that being said, have a happy holidays and a happy new year, and hope to see you guys in 2022.
Welcome to another CG Garage, where the Chaos Group talks. You'll know it's over when the last bucket drops. We're gonna fire off rays in high dynamic range. We know that ambient occlusion is passé. Global illumination won't lead you astray. And while image-based lighting is really swell, you need to make sure everything has Fernell.
How you been?
Yeah, it's all good, man. It's been a lot's going on. I moved to another city during the pandemic.
Where did you move?
I was in São Paulo, which is for it's a big city,
Yep.
and when with the COVID thing, we were a little, we stay a while there, like for 6 months during the pandemic, but with the baby, and a small apartment, we were getting a little. We didn't have even the sun coming through our place, and we were just getting really depressed. So we just came to the south of Brazil. It's a city called Florianópolis. So now we are in a bigger house, and we have like a backyard, and we have a beach like 1 minute away from here. So
awesome. Well, that's great. So how far is that from Sao Paulo?
Man, it's like 12 hours drive. It's pretty far.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Brazil's a huge country.
Yeah. We initially came for a month. We just come to have a little break, But then we are already a year and a half here. We extended from 1 month to 2, and then to 3 and 6, and
Right.
so yeah.
Yeah. Now because you have to forgive me my knowledge of Brazil, but southern Brazil is the colder part of Brazil, right?
Yeah.
But it's probably still pretty tropical, right?
Yeah. Overall, it's like pretty warm, Here,
Yeah.
the only thing is like it rains a lot, So like I would say 80% of the time it's raining.
Yep.
But then when it's not raining, then you forget about it because it's really beautiful, So and even for me that is used to stay on the computer working, then I can just have a break and go for a walk in the beaches a minute away, and it's really inspiring also to see the life, animals and things like that.
Right. Well, that's awesome. That's really cool. Well, I'm very, very, I'm very excited that you're there and you're taking care of your family, and it sounds like you're in a good place. And I want to talk a little bit about that. But obviously, the pandemic was a big thing for you guys, and that's what drove this decision for you to move. Are you working from home most of the time anyway, right? So did that really make any difference for you to move, or not really?
No, I think for us was more because with the pandemic we were stuck in the apartment, and we used to live in a big avenue there, and and in Brazil, like although we had restrictions, those restrictions doesn't work here, So people was just like having a normal life, like there is nothing happening, and me and my wife, we were pretty scared, and so we were just like, we just decided to come here because, we would have like more freedom and don't, freak out just by going downstairs to pick some, something from the market or things like that,
Right.
And here, it's mostly like, it's mostly like trees, and it's very close to the nature and not much people around.
Right.
So at least we don't have to stay on that zone that we are freaking out all the time and thinking about the chaos of the pandemic all the time. So we have a little space for breathe and work-wise was, it didn't change much, because I was already working remotely.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's great. Well, I think it sounds like it's definitely put you in a much more comfortable spot. I can imagine being in Sao Paulo during a pandemic is probably scary.
Yeah.
For sure. And obviously that was on your mind, because I do want to talk about your short and what that meant and how that worked. So tell us a little bit about the idea behind the short you created, because it's absolutely gorgeous, as I would expect from you, and really sweet. But tell us a little bit about that. How did it,
Yeah.
what was the idea behind it?
Yeah, back in the day when I had the idea for the short, I was still in São Paulo,
Yeah.
and we were on those, the first 6 months of the pandemic, we were like watching all the news and following everything and trying to know trying to predict what would happen. And me and my wife was getting really scared, because, sometime before the pandemic, went through some hard time with my father passing. So we were really, desperate, because that could happen to someone close to us or either us. So it got to a point that, like just following the news of Brazil and the whole world, but especially Brazil, we were getting really exhausted, and I remember like this sense of not having any perspective, or you just watch the news and there's always something really terrible happening was making us really desperate, and then one day, I got a call from a neighbor that lives really close to me, and then he said, "Oh, my son is going there. That he's bringing something for you." And then it was weird because we didn't see many people, because of the pandemic. And he just knocked on the door and he bring like some food, some bread that they just prepared and they want to give us as a gift, because they prepared. And for me, in that scenario, that situation with the pandemic and being really scared, that for me was really, oh man, it has so much value, those things, and that was something really inspiring, like, little things of life that it's really precious. So I think that was the main source of inspiration, like how we could get a situation that is just chaos, and how you can see little beautiful things, that can kind of put a smile on your face, and you know so I think that sense of like try to stay kind of positive in a situation that is pushing us down, was, I think also the film was a way to keep me and keep everyone involved in okay, what we can do in order to bring a positive message in all of those things happening. So I think that was like what I can do as an artist, uh, that was the
Yeah. Well, I think you've done that before, where you basically take a really tragic or horrible situation and you try to find, the flower in the concrete, like that, the thing that inspires people and hard. I think it's a really good way of you to deal emotionally speaking, with those situations and try to find that positive message that goes through. I thought it was wonderful. It had all of your sensibilities as well. I think it's great also that you were able to bring that to your team and say, hey, let's work on something positive out of this, and not necessarily pretend that the issue isn't there, because you're obviously dealing with it, in the story,
yeah.
So I think that's a really great thing. I know, for example, what's his name? Gary Yost, who's originally created 3ds Max, right?
Oh,
So he made a VR short about understanding what the coronavirus means, and understanding what it does. And I think that was a really great, inspiring thing. I think that using the creative tools that we have to be able to express yourself in that way is really true. Do you think that your team found value in it? Did it help them through the pandemic to work on something like this?
yeah. Did the way I'm producing here in Brazil? It's more like getting together some friends that want to do something. It's not like a team that I have or a structure
Sure.
that I have, but it's more like, okay, let's just because we are trying, Chris, to do things, we kind of don't have the resources or things that the way we want to do, but we just get together and but we have, like, for example, like one of the animators, for example, Derek Hicks, he went through that process with his father-in-law that he ended up passing away with the COVID, So it was very dramatic during the way that we were producing. We were like moving very slowly with the film because, everyone was really exhausted. But, I feel somehow for each person in the production, the film had something special, because it's a way of, it's the magic of art. You can put something out of yourself and try to bring something, express somehow. I think for each person was a different situation, but everyone was really connected to the project, especially because it was a project that, everyone that joined the project, they wanted to do it, so somehow it felt like made sense for the artists that were involved, and either like we had the opportunity to collaborate, for example, with the voice from the main character. It's from a big rapper here in Brazil.
Okay.
So it was something that we weren't expecting. His name is Criolo. But, it's that situation that someone that knows someone that know the guy, And the project was kind of like, it started really small and, people was hearing about the project and they wanted to get involved and got to this guy. And he also had some personal things that he kind of, the project made sense for him. So I really believe that was something, in the middle of the kills was something really beautiful to see because, of a lot of people, especially in Brazil, didn't care about the pandemic. They weren't taking care of themselves. But somehow this small group was like the Brazil that I expect how the country would be, So it was really beautiful little production.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. And I know how much you love your Brazilian rap, which I was introduced to from you. And it's very different than I thought it was going to sound like. But it's really quite Brazilians know their music, so let's just put it that way. But it was really fantastic. So how did you connect with him? Like, what was like, did you just find someone who knew someone, or was it like how was it to introduce yourself to him?
The project was pretty much done. I was talking to another rapper.
Mm-hmm.
That is, it's called MC. He's a guy I met a few years ago, but he was really busy. He was working a lot, and then we were trying to find someone to do the voice, but I finished the short. I keep moving with the short because the character would have masks. I wasn't too much worried about like lip sync and stuff like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's an advantage. It's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So like the short was done and I moved here to Florianopolis, which is really far from São Paulo. And then there's one guy that lives here that is a neighbor that I met, and he's a surfer and a really cool guy that is really connected to the nature and things like that, And then, it's been a year and a half that I'm here. So I met him and we ended up talking and I told him I do this kind of animation. And then like a few months ago, he told me, hey man, I know a guy that works with that kind of stuff that you do. His name is Sisma. And it's a guy that I follow his work for 15 years,
Right.
I was like, really, Sisma, he's a live action director. and he was telling me about Sisma, that he's a cool guy and things like that, you know. And since last year that I worked on Katy Perry music video,
Oh,
I
right.
was in touch with another friends that we wanted to do something inspiring too, but with the music field, you know. But it's a funny story. So those guys invited me to do some virtual production work,
Okay.
and I was like, okay, cool, but I never did that. I know a guy that does virtual production, that is Sisma. So if I would do that, I would have to call Sisma. And then I got in touch with Sisma. Hey, Sisma, you know, I connected with Sisma, and then he invited me to do another work that is COVID related, you know, a commercial work.
Right.
And then I showed him like my shirt. I'm doing something too, you know. And then he was like, "Man, looks cool. You have to post it fast, you know." And he asked me, what is missing here for you to post? Then I told, I just need the voices, you know. I'm trying to find someone to do the voices. And he told, yeah, can I show that for a friend? I said, yeah, of course. And then this friend was Criolo, which is the rapper, you know.
Right.
So it was like a funny coincidence coming here to really far and met someone that knows someone.
Right.
And so
That's
so
awesome.
was very kind of, things were flowing, you know, to be this way.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's great. I love it when those kind of things happen. You know, you never know. You never know what's
Yeah.
going to happen. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the characters in this short, because I think what's really beautiful about it is that there are people that are connected that you don't think of would be connected, right?
Yeah.
You know, a young man and an old woman, right? And they're not. Now, I don't speak Portuguese, obviously, but they're not related, right? He's just helping her out, right? He's like a neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Or he works at the store. So what was the inspiration for those people? Like, how did you say, you know, what was the inspiration for each of those people?
I think the main inspiration for that character was actually Delcio. You know Delcio Gomes?
No.
Yeah, it's a guy that used to go to THU.
Oh, Delcio. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Oh, he does look like Delcio.
Yeah.
Kind of a
that
big guy.
that you just wanna hug.
Yeah. He's like a big bear. You know, you just get a hug him.
Exactly. So Delcio was the main inspiration for the personality.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have a couple of friends too, you know, and on the design side, you know, I talked to Fernando Peque, that is a designer. So Fernando did explore some character designs, and I keep moving with the designs in 3D too.
Yeah.
And the old lady, you know, it's the way I grow up here in Brazil, you know, like my mother used to work a lot, you know, so she would leave like really early in the morning, like 6 a.m. and would get back like 9:30, almost 10, you know, every day.
Wow.
So on the street I was living, you know, I would spend a lot of time on the street, you know, like with friends, just playing soccer. And I had a lot of kind of second mothers, you know, that I would stay a lot of time in their places, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the inspiration for the old lady was kind of those other mothers that sometimes we have in life, and that community, you know, that happens a lot in Brazil. I don't know like how it's in other countries, but Brazil is a place that, because of the, you know, everyone is a struggle somehow here in Brazil because of, you know, like just the country, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there is this thing of everyone is trying to help each other, you know, and which is really, really beautiful too about the country, you know. So I think those were the main inspiration.
That's got to be hard. It's got to be hard in a pandemic where everyone is supposed to be isolating themselves from other people. And Brazil is a place where people get together. So it's kind of hard. You know? I can imagine the challenge that was. So how let's talk a little bit about how long did it take you to do this short, and what, where that went from there.
I think the short initially was a 40 seconds film that
Mm-hmm.
ended up to have like almost 6 minutes in total, you know. So, well, yeah, it was supposed to be like 3 months little ride, you know, and we ended up working for a year and a half, something like that. But you know, we had a lot of breaks, you know. I was working full time, you know, at some point, and you know, the other guys, the animation supervisor Marcio was working full time too. So we were just going in our own pace,
Mm-hmm.
and it got to a point that I thought I would never finish, you know, because I was getting more and more busy, and I was like, man, if I don't finish the film, then I will never do another one because people will not, you know, they will not want to work with me again.
Sure.
So I really had to take a decision, you know, of okay, I'm going to stop working and going to finish the film, you know. So in July, I finished a contract that I had, and it was tough for me, you know, because I had some really cool opportunities, you know, with Netflix and things like that, and I was like, no, man, I'm going to finish my film, you know.
Okay.
And then, you know, but overall was a year and a half, but I would say like 6 months, something like that, is what we really worked, you know.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, but it's I think it's great. I think it's great you finished it. It would always bother you if you never finished it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think your friend was right. He was like, you got to get this out now. This is important for people who are still dealing with the pandemic, and it's going to make them feel good. And I think that's absolutely true. Well, that's great. And I think, you probably got some good sponsors to help. If there are any sponsors you want to, think about talking about.
yeah. Was cool. Yeah, we've been collaborating with you guys, Chaos
Yeah.
Group, for a while, and Rebus Farm too. You know, because you know, I always like render power. It's a big thing, you know, especially talking about those kind of visuals. You know,
Hmm.
so yeah, we were really happy to have you guys to support us on the film. You know, that was the big thing. You know, other than that, we were just like financing the film ourselves,
Right.
but it was really important, you know, because rendering is something that either you have the power or not. You know,
Yep.
it's a big. So I'm really grateful, Chris, for
Yeah.
you
Oh, well,
guys.
of course we're going to support you because you've always done great things. And I think what you do is very specifically about community. And I think that's really great to be able to showcase these things. I mean, I've always remembered all the great work you've done from, all way back, but it's always been really nice to see that. So I can't wait to see what you do next. But I do want to know a little bit also about like the Katy Perry thing, because I don't think we talked about the Katy Perry video
Yeah,
in
that's true.
since our last podcast. So how did that happen? Because that's really great too.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, it's stuff that you never imagine, you know, especially like here in Brazil, you know, we are not on the spot, you know, where things are happening and the productions are happening.
Right.
But I feel, you know, slowly we are trying to do something that is, you know, every opportunity that we have to produce, we try to do it really special. So, you know, someone will notice. We hope someone will notice.
Yep.
And you know, one day, like I've been working with Nathan Love, which a New York based studio for maybe 10 years that we collaborate, and Joe, which is the studio owner, uh, he told me, hey man, I might get a project, a music video. He saw the In My Heart music video that
Oh, right. Yeah.
we did, and he got really excited and inspired by the music video, and then he got this opportunity, like we might get a Katy Perry music video to do, and then he just told me, yeah, we want to co-produce with you guys, you know. And
Wow.
that was he told me like in a Thursday, And then on Friday, like, okay, we are doing this. And we started working right away, like in the next day. So we produced a music video in 6 weeks.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow, that is a lot of work, man.
It was a lot of work. It was like 18 characters, like 6 sets, and was really intense, And,
Wow.
and considering all the approvals and things. But somehow, we are, because, like, we are kind of finding our way to produce things too, because before I was producing without knowing like what we were doing, and then I got a little of experience working in the US and learning more like the workflows and things like that. And now, I'm kind of trying to connect, how like we can produce, because, like in Brazil, it's always like, or either you don't do it, or you either find a way to do it, because the resources are very like limited here. So the way I'm producing is always trying to find shortcuts, in order to get to the final result, but it's make it doable with the resources that we have, So we have was short time, but was a way to kind of test the workflow that we are doing here, Of course, was really insane, but it was a good test, to see like how the workflow is working. What was amazing, man, was Matthew Cooling, which is a film director. He was directing, and Joe from Nathan Love was directing too.
Right.
And we were producing in collaboration with them. And also Little Zoo, which is animation studio in the West, was doing the animation work. So it was kind of like kind of a lot of people involved, but we were, designing and putting everything together, doing some art direction and
Right.
things like that, But was a big thing, because if you consider like we are not like a big production company, we are just like a group of artists that we want to do things regardless,
Yep.
So it's kind of funny to think, that somehow Katy Perry knows someone that will call someone in Brazil that can do something that they might like it, So somehow it's something that makes me really happy, just to kind of, this power of being really far, but somehow be present in productions like that, or.
For sure. I mean, I think this is something I remember, your talk at THU several years ago where, you had moved, you started working at Disney and you and Victor, and you both had this problem where it's like you were missing Brazil and you were trying to see how it was going to work if you could, work there. And I never felt more homesick hearing your talk, and I was crying when you were talking about how it was hard. Like you got a dream job to be an animator at Disney, and you still, it's like, how do they make it work? It was a very emotional thing, and I find it really wonderful to hear the stories that you say, where you basically say, "Here, look, it's working. I'm doing what I need to do, and I've got the connections, and being in Brazil is not necessarily." A problem, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you've discovered, working the way you have since then, that have sort of been special? Obviously, you get great jobs like doing animations for Katy Perry videos. What are some of the other things you've discovered that you didn't know were possible?
Well, I think for me, especially since last time that we talked, this sense of, because I've been always, I started as an artist, doing the 3D or modeling and things like that, and just having this experience, and living in the US. and also like, not only me, but I think everyone that wants to break through the industry, and especially in the US or Canada, sometimes the journey it's really long. I'm sure for you guys in the US it's a tough ride too. uh, and I can say just for my road, for my story, but I feel like this kind of experience, just studying and then going there, I started to look inside and see things that I wanted to say too. So that's where, when I started writing things, and got more inspired to try to do stuff that I want to say. And for me, that was the big thing. I've been working a lot for the studios, doing visual development work.
Hmm.
But I feel like I kind of have this call, that I have to do more stories and write more. So I think for me, there's something pushing me towards that direction, and that short film was something that, like, just the feedback I had is something that I feel it's possible, but it's like a door you have to open and go, and I'm starting to open this door and go through that. So I think it's something that is, it feels it's possible. I don't know how, and because there are so many layers on the executive side, and things that I really have no idea, but it feels like, a good, a good starting point, for me to keep evolving. So
Yeah, I definitely think that's something that you can do now much more than you could if you were working as an animator at Disney.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so where would you like to go? What would you like to do? Do you want to make it a feature?
Man, what I'm really excited to do, especially on this, I'm feeling more and more. I'm feeling more and more excited about the Brazilian culture, and share those things, because it's, that besides all the struggles that we live here, there is something really beautiful, and I feel if I just manage to do a short film, you know, trying to put all the pieces that I have in my mind, I would be more than happy, at the moment. So that's my goal, is maybe try to produce, because this short film I released,
Hmm.
it's like a beta test, because all the situations weren't great for making it.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping, like, in the next years, try to find a better way to produce a short film, and try to go through festivals and have all the artists that I believe that can do a piece really, really special. So I think that will be my goal, for, because the feature it's a big thing. For me, it's like a really far reality.
I don't know, Pedro. I think you've come so far so quickly in a lot of things you've done. I think you're underestimating how much you can do. You did that Katy Perry thing in 6 weeks, so I think that's. But I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I think doing shorts are a great idea. I think obviously you've always had a very big passion for your Brazilian culture and the Brazilian things you do, and you want to you've always, I think you've wanted to tell people stories that you think that they may not know about Brazil, right?
Yeah,
Outside of
exactly.
Brazil.
Mhm.
Especially, like, for example, when you introduced me to Brazilian rap, that was not what I thought I was going to hear. Right. And it
Yeah,
was, it was fantastic music. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, okay. And so I think that that's something that would be great to learn from you. I think you have a lot to teach people. I think you have a lot to teach people in terms of not being afraid to take some risks.
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. Well, yeah, it's been a bit crazy, man. It's like for me, I see as sometimes just looking back, and see like uh just like the possibilities I have now, and considering like where I started, it makes me really excited, Chris, because feels like the hardest work was done,
Right.
and because it's just like break through all the all the cultural issues the country has, and all the situations that me, my family, and my friends used to live, and now it's like, man, I'm in a comfortable position where I can, I have work, I can definitely have more time, and take decisions, like not based on, okay, I need to survive, because before was like more like a surviving thing, like, and now it's more like, man, I'm in a comfortable position today, and I can spend more time and think and plan things more, I feel like.
Right. Yeah, I think we're all. I think the whole world has been dealing with some difficult situations culturally in each country,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's familiar here too, obviously for a lot of reasons. But I think this is really cool because I think being able to say, "Hey, look at this beautiful thing that's happening in Brazil," and you may not know about this because you're hearing all this other news,
yeah.
So I think finding a way to talk about that would be really great, for sure. Now, okay, I want to sort of say, like obviously, you in the beginning you were telling us a little bit about how COVID affected you, and now you've moved away, and obviously you created that short, which that came to be because of what's going on with COVID. I thought it was hilarious. It's like we used masks so we didn't have to use lip sync. That's hilarious. That's, of course, I didn't even think about it. But I do want to know, like, how if you think these changes that have happened in your life, you probably wouldn't have done these changes in your life if it wasn't because of the pandemic. Do you feel that you're going to go back to a different life, or do you think that this is going to be a new life and it's going to change everything you're doing?
Dude, I think it changed everything, man.
Yeah.
Because we were we were talking about coming here maybe since 2017, because
Okay.
there is a friend living that used to live here, and we came for vacations, and we saw where he was living. It's like, oh man, it's so cool.
Right.
And then with the pandemic, he since we came here, I talked about coming here for this friend, like, man, I want to go there maybe someday, and he was like all the time, man, you should come. And then during the pandemic, he told me, there is one house here, it's like either you take it or you not find this a place like this again.
Hmm.
So it was like, okay, let's give it a try, and for us, especially on the lifestyle, it's very different from Sao Paulo, because just being close to the nature, and also like, in Sao Paulo, it's like people are very aggressive, because it's a big city, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of violence going on there, so you never know, like, especially now with the pandemic,
Hmm.
because like, a lot of people doesn't have work, so the crime is a lot bigger, a lot of more people living on the streets, and so, and here it's like everyone is more chill, the city is not doesn't have that much of contrast, as Sao Paulo, so for us, going back to Sao Paulo is really weird,
Right.
because we find we can see ourselves by 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 looking to other people, because sometimes you just go to talk to someone or buy something, like everyone's rushing, everyone's like really stressed out, and here is like everyone is really chill, so, and for us, we have a little apartment there in Sao Paulo that is just closed, and we came here in a renting place, and we are paying like the rent, but like we are, man, maybe we should go back so we don't pay any rent. But somehow we are like, okay, let's stay here, So we are now in that situation that, we are spending some money here to be here,
Right.
but we don't want to go back. So we have to take a decision. We are on this moment that we just don't know what to do, because we don't want to live here. So
Right.
for sure, it's a place that forever change our lifestyle,
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think these are things I think that I think there's certain parts of the world that have changed because of this pandemic for the better. And I think that's some of the thing that you expressed in your short. Obviously, while people were very aggressive, et cetera, there's also people that were incredibly kind, right? That came out of it. And then you obviously, it's like, hey, I did something that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And now is the time to do it. Why not do it now? Why wait? Right.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I also think, in general, like, there are people out there who have found, one of the big things that I'm discovering, especially in the United States, I don't know if it's the same in Brazil, but there's a lot of people quitting their jobs and they realized that they had bad jobs and they're doing that. So that's why I think this is a very interesting thing to do that. But I also think, in general, like you knew that you could work from anywhere, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's really been helpful as well.
Yeah.
How are you? How is work for you now? Like, just basically, you're pretty busy still at this time?
Yeah. I was really busy this year, and it got to a point that, I was working all the time. And so it was a moment where I had to take the decisions of my life, when I wanted to finish the film. It was something that I was getting like maybe 3-4 jobs every day. Like, hey, we want to do something, because I do a lot of modeling work, so everyone was needing like modeling and look that work, so I was getting a lot of emails, I was like, man, I have to take the decision of finishing the short, so I had like some 3 months that I was more chill during the short film. But then, I got a little, it was a little commercial here for Brazil, but it was a big thing because it's a big client, like, those big brands and a lot of people approving. So it was a bit intense the last 2 months, but yeah, it's been, I'm trying just to have more time, as a decision,
Sure.
But overall, it feels like the market, there's a lot going on. Everyone is busy, all my friends also starting working for other countries, Brazilian friends, which is great too. Mm-hmm. So it looks like the animation market at least is really, really busy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely noticing that. I saw a lot of that on the news, right? Like a lot of people are getting, there's the visual effects work. It's everyone is trying to hire someone. There's so much content out there, Netflix and HBO Max, and it's not just the movie theater anymore. It's everything. So I think there's a lot of stuff going on. Is there anything that you've noticed in terms of like the kind of work that's out there, that's interesting, that's different for you? Things that you haven't done before, like streaming stuff?
Oh yeah. What I think is really interesting, because before the big studios, big productions, they used to hire in-house artists, and now they are kind of open for people to work remotely, and that's really exciting, because especially for me, I thought for working a big production, I would have to be in the studio,
Right.
And right now, everyone is kind of being more flexible with that, and the streaming, it's really exciting, just to be able to.
But I think again, okay, this is interesting. Again, the pandemic changed that, right? The studios had to, they obviously wanted everyone to work in the studio, but they had to make them work from home because I had no choice, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm wondering what it would have been like for you if Disney had hired you but let you stay and live in Brazil at the same time. Do you think what do you think would have, how do you think that would have been?
Yeah, you, you know, I think I'm really, for me, I feel it's difficult for me to do like same task all the time.
Right.
Honestly, I'm really, I love to design things and do modeling and do lighting and write and I kind of, because of the fact that I went to the US and then right after, the film I was fired, I was trying to understand, like how, do I have to fit the studio and or can I do things the way I believe I can do? And the Ron artist
Yeah.
was a guy that was really inspiring for me because he sings, he plays the guitar, he does everything, he writes,
Hmm.
and Ron is an inspiration for me because usually in the industry, although you can work as a generalist, but overall you kind of have to do like part of the project, like you just do the models or you do the texture.
Yep.
And coming back to Brazil and producing little things, I started to get more comfortable, with the fact that I could do more than one task, and either explore myself in writing and directing, So I think things unfolds the way it should unfold, So I'm really happy that I had this opportunity just to follow where life was bringing me. So I would, it's always a big dream to collaborate with Disney and all those big studios, But I think going deep in yourself and finding your voice is something that is really, really interesting for me, because
At the same time, I don't think you would have done it if you hadn't gone to Disney.
yeah. No, definitely was something really important for me
Right.
to go there and see how things works there and all those things, and it was a life-changing experience for me.
Sure.
It was a life-changing experience because here in Brazil, like I said, we have a lot of limitations on the industry, and I will never see how an animation studio works if I wouldn't be there, So that is the life-changing experience for people that is out of the US and
Sure. That's awesome. Have you talked to Victor recently?
yeah.
How's he doing?
Yeah, Victor is we talk a lot, all the time because we are big bros.
Yeah.
And he's working for Netflix. It's been
Oh,
a
wow.
while. Yeah.
Okay.
He's doing like visual development there. And Fernando Peque is the guy that I directed In My Heart too. He's working for Net. It looks like Netflix is
They're hiring everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're buying studios too, apparently.
Yeah. It's exciting, man. I think it's a exciting time for animation because
Sure.
like what it's being produced now, we will see the results. Of course, we are seeing the results, but maybe in 2 years, 3 years, we'll see, really crazy stuff, especially now also with the NFTs and how that could influence the all the dynamic of producing
Yep.
3D art. It's really exciting.
I am very interested in how all of that's going to change our market completely. I've been going through a lot of that, which is very interesting. Very interesting. All right, listen, I don't want to. We're getting close to the amount of time, so I want to make sure people know a little bit about the short and where they can find it. So, what is the name of the short in Portuguese? What is it called?
The short is Tamo Junto.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Portuguese. It's Tamo Junto. That's mean like we are on the same boat. You know, it's an expression that kind of feels like we are on the same boat. We are in this together. You know.
Got it. Yep. Yeah, which is great. And I think it's
Yeah.
really wonderful to have, like I said, those two characters that you don't think would be on the same boat are on the same boat together.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. So we'll make sure to have a link to it in the in the podcast page so people can check it out and definitely look at it. It's a really great thing. And how did you get the music and all of that done for it too? Did you get that done from some friends as well?
Yeah, the music was done by there is a music producer that I follow for a while,
Uh-huh.
and I've been talking to him. He's a very friendly person, and I reached him out. His name is Felipe Vassão.
Mm-hmm.
I reached him out, and he was like, "Man, I'm not working. I'm taking a break because I just need some time, off." And he told me like, just talk with my partners at the studio. He runs a advertisement studio here in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
So I send like some shots, from the film. But before, so this studio is called Loud. So this studio they did a really great work, But before this studio joined the project, Ron did the first version of the music, Ron Artist.
Oh, really?
So the thing was, he did a 30 seconds music, but then we expanded the film, and I couldn't use his music because the film got really longer and he was busy,
Right.
So and also the film initially wasn't supposed to be like a really Brazilian thing, but kind of the film was taking that direction, to
Sure.
be more cultural, stronger culturally,
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up talking to those guys that they have a big influence from the Brazilian music, and they produce for me like the soundtrack. Yeah,
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, this has been great. Thank you so much. It's so good to see you. I really appreciate you doing the short. And then the minute I saw it, I was like, we got to get Pedro back on. We got to get him to talk about it. So it's really cool that you're able to do that and share that with us. And give my best to your family, of course, and tell Victor I say hi when you see him. And I was talking to Delcio like a couple months ago, so I have to tell him, I was like, hey, I didn't know you were the inspiration to Pedro's short. So it's really cool. It's really cool. And hopefully we'll be able to connect again at some THU event, because that would be really amazing to see that again.
Yeah, man. Hopefully, just can't wait just to get life back to normal. I'm really excited to go to LA too. I was planning to go, but then COVID hit, and because,
Right.
Our experience in LA was really great. Me and my wife, we really love it. And
Mm-hmm.
we kind of have like those kind of homesick as well.
Really?
Somehow LA, we lived there for some time, and we kind of
Right.
miss a lot of things there, So really hope to go to LA at some point. So I'll hit you.
All right. That sounds great. All right, Pedro, have a good one. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chris.